Good morning, darlings. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at this symbol here. Let me just find a pen first, guys. Let me just find the pen because you know what I'm like. I need a pen. I need to be able to annotate the true story. Right, let's have purple. So I like purple. Right. So what on earth is this symbol? Well, and to draw it, you go like that and you go like that, and then it sort of looks like that, but it really doesn't. Okay. So in class, ordinarily, I would ask you what these words down here have to do with this up here. I'd be saying, like, guys, what does this symbol mean? Work it out. Now, I can't do that on account of the fact that you're not here and I'm talking in an empty classroom. So I will tell you that this is what it's about. This is the universally recognized symbol for psychology. So, what is psychology? Psychology is the study of the mind, the human mind, its behaviors, its causes, its consequences. You do this at A level. We offer it as a school at A level. It goes hand in hand with both English, because of all the psychological aspects of characters, and history. Those three subjects go together in a triangle, and they mesh really, really well together. So it's a really good combination for you to think about when you come to do A level. So today, we're going to be looking at psychology and its importance in A Christmas Carol. Okay, so these are some of the key words here. So if you want to, you can get this down in a Wordle. You don't have to do them all. You can do just a few of them. You can make a couple of notes about what psychology is, as long as you know in your head, or you've got something along the lines of a revision note for you to come back to and remember what it is. So today we're going to look at its significance. Okay, so first and foremost, ordinarily you would do this in pairs, but you're going to have to do this yourself. If you have a parent or a guardian or a sibling with you, you can ask them for ideas. That's absolutely fine. You need to make a list in your books of every single one of the human emotions you can think of or remember, and you need to be specific. That's the worst line I've ever drawn, ever. If you're struggling, there are usually ideas on the back wall to help you. So I'm going to look at positive, I'm going to look at negative, I'm going to look at relieved, I'm going to look at hostile. Those are just a couple of the words on the back wall that you would normally be able to turn around and have a look at. Do not Google this. Do not Google it, because you're just asking to let yourselves in for not using your own brain, which is not okay. You know how I feel about using your own brain. It's an absolute necessity in life. So you should spend no longer than 10 minutes in this. So give yourself a timer on your phones or wherever, if you've got an egg timer. Egg timers. I need a new egg timer. Mine's broken. Anyway, okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, 10 minutes. Give yourself 10 minutes to pause the video. Do this for 10 minutes. Think of every single thing you can and then come back. Okay, well done. I'm going to assume that you've done that, and I'm going to give you what we call an emotions wheel. Okay, so you have in this center here, you've got the main sorts and the main categories of feelings: sad, happy, surprised, bad, fearful, angry, and disgusted. And in there you've got more detailed words for these things. So under fearful, you can have scared, anxious, insecure, weak, rejected, threatened. Under sad, you can have lonely, vulnerable, despair, guilty, depressed, or hurt. Under angry, you can feel let down, humiliated, bitter, mad, aggressive, frustrated, distant, and critical. And then under those things, you can feel betrayed, you can feel disrespected, you can feel furious or jealous or provoked, infuriated, annoyed, withdrawn, numb. Under sad, you might feel fragile, or you might feel grief or powerless. You may feel disappointed. You may feel empty or inferior. You may feel you are under fear. You may feel that you are inadequate, inferior, worthless, insignificant, excluded. Under bad, you may feel pressured or overwhelmed or stressed, out of control, or if you're all these things. Okay, so I will put a copy of this up onto the shared area, so you don't have to worry about grabbing this down, but it is an idea for you to think about how much you how many of these you manage to think of, because there are quite a lot actually. There are quite a lot of emotions here, and these are all good things to include in a good piece of literature, and these are good things to look for in a piece of literature as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move on, so don't panic about getting these down, it will be in the shared area. So why is it so important then for the world of work, I hear you ask, because I've included our logo down here. So understanding, I'm going to read this out, guys. I know it's patronising, I'm really sorry, but it's important. Understanding human emotion is a key skill for every career and job in the world. If you work with people, you need to understand their emotions and how they work. Yeah? And how they're displayed and how their mind works and what they might be going through. So these skills then are especially useful for studying psychology A-level, like I mentioned earlier, any career and job which involves caring for others at any level. Now, I don't just mean being a doctor or a nurse or a care assistant. I mean, if you are a manager of a job, you have a duty of care towards your staff. If you are a member of staff with any sort of responsibility, you have a duty of care to those around you. If you are a retail employer, you have a duty of care to greet people. It's not just politeness, you have a duty of care to not make other people feel horrible. So if, I don't know, you work in Dorothy Perkins, for example, and someone comes in and they're looking for a dress for a night out, it's your job to then say to them, that really suits you, or not quite sure that's the one, perhaps this instead. You're not there to say, you look ridiculous in that. You are there to be tactful, you are there to be kind. If you can't be kind, be quiet is one of my mottos. It's what I say to people. If you can't be kind, be quiet. If you've got nothing nice to say, you should say nothing at all, is what I was brought up with. But if you can't be kind, be quiet is alliterative, so it sticks in your head more. So essentially, if you have any sort of interaction and caring for others, you need to understand human emotions. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean absolutely everybody has to do an A-level in psychology, but it does mean that a basic understanding of psychological effects on humans is useful. So you may as well build these skills now. Okay, if you become a parent dealing with the terrible twos and teenage hormones, your knowledge of and understanding of psychology will be invaluable. Any career or job which deals with the public, you are going to have to recognise emotions in angry customers, for example. You're going to have to then learn how to de-escalate any particular situation. You're going to have to learn how to placate them, but be firm at the same time sometimes if it's necessary. In any profession with pressure, identifying your own emotions is vital as well. There is no greater skill than being able to be that self-aware that you can say, right, I'm really angry now, and this is how I have to deal with it. Or I'm really stressed now, and this is how I'm going to cope. Okay? The more you can understand about how the mind works, the more you can master your own. I hope that makes some sort of sense. Okay, great. Right. You might want to make some notes about these, guys, if you want to. Anyway, let's carry on. So, what we need to do then is we need to apply these ideas to the text. We need to consider what a reader might think of Scrooge's mindset here and why. And then how, these are your methods, Dickens has created this. Okay, so what is Scrooge's mindset and why is it that way? So, this is at the end of just after Marley's ghost has been. So Scrooge went to bed again and thought and thought and thought it over and over and over and could make nothing of it. So if we are repeating these words here, thought and thought and thought it over and over and over, what does this mean? Which emotion is he feeling from this? Is he feeling stressed? Is he feeling anxious? Is he feeling despair? Is he feeling vulnerable? Is he feeling slightly guilty, maybe remorseful? Not quite yet, but he might feel ashamed. He might feel more fearful. He might feel threatened, nervous maybe. He might be feeling these things. So this is why we included the emotion wheel here, to be able to then use these sorts of words in our analysis of Scrooge, okay? Because we've got this repetition here over and over and over, I'm not going to draw a line from down there, and could make nothing of it, the more he thought, again, the more perplexed he was. So this means confused, puzzled, okay? And the more he endeavoured not to think, the more he thought. So when you're trying not to think about something, that's all that fills your head. This is what Scrooge is feeling. We've all been there. So here, we're going to be able to identify with this. So Marley's ghost bothered him exceedingly. Look at the language, look at the rhetoric that's being used. Not a lot, exceedingly. If you exceed something, you're going over the limit. So Marley's ghost is bothering him more than he can cope with. Every time he resolved within himself, after mature inquiry, which means he was trying to think logically about it, that it was all a dream, his mind flew back again like a strong spring. So that's a nice simile there, isn't it? Released to its first position and presented the same problem to be worked all through. Was it a dream or not? Okay, so consider what a reader might think of Scrooge's mindset here. So we've got quite a few things here that we can talk about, but you guys, I haven't specifically not given you any answer. You need to work this out for yourself, but I've said enough that you should be able to do that. Why do we think that? Well, all of these things here, and how has this been created? So these two things sort of link up. Why do we think that? Because Dickens has done this, okay? So you can go ahead and pause and make some notes and then answer this question. No more than one paragraph for this, please, guys. One paragraph, you need to be succinct, you need to be specific. Okay, I don't need lots of waffle for this, I need to be specific. He feels like this. This is what we think of his mindset. This is why we think of it, because Dickens has done this. Okay? Okay, what does Helpful Harvey say then? He says, understanding the mindset of a character helps a reader gain additional insight into the plot of a text. Knowing their level of comprehension and their thoughts and feelings about an event can instruct a reader to empathise with the character or even criticise them for their reactions. Now, I know that you guys know that I wrote a book, and a lot of people have commented that they were highly critical of the main character for all the decisions that she was making. But that's the point. In my book, you are supposed to criticise the main character, and you want to shake her and say, "What are you doing, you silly woman?" And here, we might be criticising Scrooge for some of his actions. Okay? Do we see the link? If we know more about their mindset, we could then say, "You silly man, what are you doing? You should be a nicer person." Okay, so this encourages deeper discourse. What's a discourse? A discourse is a conversation with the text. It's an interaction with the text. It's not, you're not going to talk out loud to it, but it is going to give something to you, and the more you put in, the more you get out, okay? It heightens the level of our critique of the text. If we can understand more, we can critique it, we can criticise it. Now, don't forget, criticism is not always saying something is rubbish. It's not always saying something is negative or bad or horrifically done or whatever. Sometimes criticism is constructive, and sometimes to critique something is to assess it, okay? It's to assess it. It's to make your own opinions, okay? So that's just something that Helpful Harvey has reminded you of when you are doing this task. So go ahead and pause the video and answer this in one paragraph, no more than one paragraph, and then you can send that work to me, or you can save it for the end of this video. It's not a problem either way. Okay, well done. Let's move on. So, of what are the following an example? Original copies, genuine imitation, natural acting, unconscious awareness, deafening silence, alone together, virtual reality, wise fool, exact estimate, open secret. What are these? Of what are the following an example? What are they? Oxymorons, I hear you say. Well done. Excellent. So your stretch and challenge task is to list 5 more you've heard in everyday life. You might not get 5. These are quite difficult, but list as many as you can, please. So go ahead and pause the video, do that, and then come back. Well done. Let's move on. Right, so deduce, we're analysing, we're deducing the oxymoron's function in this passage. Now, notice where the apostrophe is up here. This means plural, more than one oxymoron. So, it was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man, viewed through some supernatural medium which gave him the appearance of having receded from the view and being diminished to a child's proportions. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms were very long and muscular, the hands the same, as if its hold were of uncommon strength. Its legs and feet, most delicately formed, were like those upper members, bare. It wore a tunic of the purest white round its waist, and was, it wore a tunic of the purest white, and round its waist was bound a lustrous belt, the sheen of which was beautiful. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand, and, in singular contradiction of that wintry emblem, had its dress trimmed with summer flowers. But the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all this was visible, and which was doubtless the occasion of its using in its duller moments a great extinguisher for a cap, which it now held under its arm. So we're going to focus at the beginning of this, like a child, yet not like a child, like an old man, and we're going to look at the white with age and not a wrinkle in the face. These are the things that we're going to pay attention to in this. So we're going to have like an old man, like a child, this bit here. So what are we supposed to why are these oxymorons here? What are we supposed to feel when we're reading this section of the text? And how, more importantly, what does Scrooge understand at this section of the text? So this is what we're looking at, just this little bit here. What is their function? How are we supposed to feel, and how is Scrooge feeling when he's looking at this strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as an old man? Okay, and then your stretch and challenge, what impression upon the reader does the combination of oxymorons and the adjectives used here create? So we're looking for any description as well, guys. So again, I want a paragraph about this, please, to tell me about the functions, what feelings the oxymorons create in us and Scrooge. No more than 5 sentences on this, please, guys, including your quotes. So go ahead and pause the video and do that now. Okay, well done. I assume that you've done that. Very good. Well done. So let's move on, guys. We only want a quick little thing about some of these. We only want a quick little session on some of these things. We don't want to spend hours on them. So, what emotional tone has Dickens created here, and what is its effect? Okay, so we're looking again at emotional tone. We're looking again at our emotions wheel, so don't forget to have a look at that in the shared area. Okay, where am I? I'm here, right, okay. As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold, wintry day with snow upon the ground. Good heavens, said Scrooge, clasping his hands together as he looked about him. I was bred in this place. I was a boy here. The spirit gazed upon him mildly. Its gentle touch, though it had been light and instantaneous, appeared still present to the old man's sense of feeling. He was conscious of 1,000 odours floating through the air, each one connected with 1,000 thoughts and hopes and joys and cares long, long forgotten. Your lip is trembling, said the ghost. And what is that upon your cheek? Scrooge muttered with an unusual catching in his voice that it was a pimple, and begged the ghost to lead him to where he would. You recollect the way? Inquired the spirit. Remember it? Cried Scrooge with fervour. I could walk it blindfold. So what emotional tone has Dickens created here? Which methods have been used, because we must not forget methods, and why or what is its effect on Scrooge and on the reader? Yeah. So what do we think then? What is the kind of emotional tone that's been set here? So use your wheel. Are we sad? No. Are we disgusted? No. Are we angry? No. Are we fearful? No. Are we bad? No. Are we surprised and happy? Possibly. Are we startled, confused, amazed, or excited? Well, probably these two. Are we interested? Yeah, probably. Are we optimistic? Yeah, perhaps he even is. So is he hopeful? Yeah. Okay. Is he inquisitive? Yes. Is he curious? Yeah. Is he joyful? Yes, I'd say he was as well. Is he eager? Yes, he is. And is he energetic? Yes, he is. So these are the sorts of things you can look at and find to describe what it is that Dickens has created here and what it is that Scrooge is feeling, and use some quotes. No more than a couple of paragraphs on this, please, guys. So go ahead and pause the video, do that now, and you can either send that with the other work or send it on its own. It's entirely up to you. Just let me know which one it is. Okay, well done. So next task then, Helpful Harvey says you can check your challenge vocabulary list before you send it in. Any of these words here, I'm not sure if you can see these on the screen. This too, you should have had this last year, but if not, I will put it in the shared area. Okay. And then the last one is that we need to analyse the passage in which the text below is contained. We need to determine what might have made Scrooge hate the idea of Christmas, and how Dickens has presented this for the reader. They went, the ghost and Scrooge, across the hall to a door at the back of the house. It opened before them and disclosed a long, bare, melancholy room, made barer still by the lines of plain deal forms and desks. At one of these, a lonely boy was reading near a feeble fire, and Scrooge sat down upon a form and wept to see his poor, forgotten self as he used to be. Not a latent echo in the house, not a squeak and scuffle from the mice behind the panelling, not a drip from the half-thawed waterspout in the dull yard behind, not a sigh among the leafless boughs of one despondent poplar, not the idle swinging of an empty storehouse door, no, not a clicking in the fire, but fell upon the heart of Scrooge with softening influence and gave a freer passage to his tears. So this is quite a solemn piece here. So if we look at our emotions wheel, we've got all of these things that we could be writing about here. Okay, is he weak? Yes. Does he feel worthless? Yes. Does he feel inferior and inadequate? He's insecure? Yes. Does he feel anxious? He's worried and overwhelmed, perhaps. He's sad. So all of these words down here are really useful as well. He could be hurt, he could be disappointed, he could be depressed, he could be empty, he could be feeling despair, he could be feeling grief and powerless, he could be feeling vulnerable, very fragile, he could be lonely, he's isolated and abandoned. All these words will be useful. Oh, keep the animations, miss. All these words will be useful when you are dealing with this piece of text. What does he feel? What made him hate the idea of Christmas, and how has he done it? So this is for your emotions wheel as well. Via your methods. So he's used, for example, this feeble fire here, this alliteration to feeble is weak, isn't it? It's not warm, it's cold, and all the rest of it. Okay, so there's plenty to go at here. Okay, so this might take you a while, guys, and that's absolutely fine. Doesn't matter how long it takes you, because you've got a week for this. And if you need help, you can email me. Okay, so think carefully about how the emotions that are created and the methods used to do so. We're going to deepen our level of understanding and analysis by being literary archaeologists. We need to brush back at the words used on the page and think, well, what does that mean? How deep in analysis can I go to really get the true meaning of what's being done here? Okay, this is challenging work, guys. There's a lot to do. You will have a week for this. Your webinars from here on in will just be to check how you're going. I'm going to set you nothing else until this is done in a week's time. Okay, as usual, if you are stuck, you can email me or you can tweet me, but most people are emailing me, so well done. You're doing a really good job of that. I'm really impressed with you. You're amazing at this. So yeah, have at it, enjoy, make sure you're checking all your resources, and if you need anything, you know where I am. Stay safe, wash your hands, stay indoors, etc., etc., and I will hopefully see you very soon.